Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Monday night, Plastic Crack Podcast, as usual, coming at you from a slightly mild UK, I think. It's not that hot. It's quite pleasant, actually. It's quite nice at the moment. It's going to get a bit moist this weekend, I think. I'm sure everyone will be telling us where the weather is at the moment. I'm slightly concerned about David Benton already eating garlic baguettes and drinking Zinfandel wine tonight. So it could get a bit hairy tonight. But there you go. Anyway, thank you everybody joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. It is season 6, episode 21 of the Plastic Crack Podcast. We are looking forward to an interesting discussion tonight. Hopefully it's interesting anyway, about bending the rules. Not something that Martin ever does.
I don't. We'll discuss this. I don't. There's a distinction that I want to make in between what I do.
He's coming in hot with the rule change already. Look, I've set up the screen. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it as ever, and thank you so much to everybody joining us on the catch up. We love that too, and we're looking forward to some good interaction. So give us some, as we go through, please let us know what you're thinking about rules and bending rules, adapting rules, that kind of stuff. And we'll get around to some of those comments later on in the night. So how, chaps, how are we doing? All happy? Good week?
Yeah.
Cool, that was overwhelmingly exciting.
Yeah, it was just. Do you know, last week was actually like a genuinely pleasant week at work. It was really good.
Wow,
you know, it was really nice. On Saturday, the kids had a school summer fete thing. So we got to put Tessa in a sumo suit and watch her.
I saw the picture of that. That was the funniest thing.
Yeah, I know. She was doing her best E Honda impression from Street Fighter.
How many people did she take down? That's the question.
Just one. She was fighting her friend, and her friend fell over, and then Tessa, because it was the last moment, did actually just even though they called it, she just looked at me and then just went and just jumped on her friend, and then just sort of rolled off down the playground. So that was good. And then I'll tell you what I watched on Saturday night. I watched that William Tell film.
Oh, I watched it too. Oh my lord!
I didn't mind it. I thought I was thoroughly entertained.
Half of me loved it. Half of me hated it. It was just like.
Did you like how they just kept on saying "thou," "v," and
that was the bit I particularly didn't like. I bet that's the bit you liked. They were doing almost old English.
I thought the the bad guy, Gessler, because he's Sterling, isn't he? In the SAS he was brilliant. He was
fantastic. Yeah,
and also though, I did sit there. The historical part of me came out going, I really like that they've gone to the effort of wearing salads, but are we 100 years too early?
Yeah, yeah, I was not to get button counting or anything like that, but I did the same thing. I thought they went to such efforts to get them in nice, and they did look good. I mean, what they were wearing was really, really good. It was just completely wrong era.
But the Swiss city symbols, they were all on the shield. I quite like that. But what's this? Ben Kingsley was it? I do you know what? I did enjoy it. It's not the worst history.
It's not the worst I've ever seen, but I have to say, it did lose it a bit when the warrior monk jumped out and he had a crossbow thing attached to his wrist. He was shooting it off at people.
I was drinking heavily when I was watching this, so
I was too. So in fairness, anyway. One for your list. Look, there you go. That's that one. Anyway, let's see who's in the chat, shall we? On this wonderful Monday night. We got Pat's here. Good evening, mate. Alid's in the house working out how to load files on a 3D printer while watching tonight. Oh dear. He's trying to blame me for that as well. It's I had nothing to do with it. Well, maybe a little bit. Nick's here. Old School's here. Lewis, good evening, everyone. Managed to catch the stream live for the first time in about 2 months.
Hey.
Getting back to my big samurai project while watching tonight, away from the weird shit for a bit. Good man, well done. Mike's here. Hello, Mike. Evening from a cold and often wet West Cape. Busy flocking 600 points worth of epic Carthaginians. Flocking
now.
Flocking now, definitely. Hobbit, the Hobby Brush is here. Hello, mate. Martin Hoy's here. Paul's Paint Shed. Don's here. Hello, Don. How you doing, mate? Carl is here. Traj. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Just recovering from COVID. Oh, dear. I thought,
no.
Dear mate, you can't have that. Oh, that's horrible. Lionheart's here. Good evening. Mark, Red Steph, Philip, Mobile and Hostile, hello mate. John Sowerby, good evening from a stupidly hot South Florida. Feels like 37 degrees C, stupidly hot. Taking a break from digging up random sprues. You know what you did, Steve.
Sorry.
Spaceships. Hashtag blame Steve. Daniel's here. Carazette's here. Andrew Oates is here. Scorching west coast of Canada, working on super heavy tanks. Wow. A GW Bane Blade variant.
I know what that is.
I know what that is.
I don't know.
A big, great, bloody tank.
Is that what it is? Fair enough.
Tank.
I mean, I kind of guessed that from Super Heavy. I would assume that was the case, but there you go. Neil's here, starting a long-delayed Viking project tonight. Oh, good man. Good man. What figures are you using? Let us know. Mark Riding, hello. Adam Kirtley, good evening, mate. Bill's here. Steve Harbour's here. Evening all. A bit on the warm side, but promising rain soon. Something different tonight, painting 40k knobs. I mean, whatever you fancy, really. Nathan's here. Hello, Nathan. Evening all from a sunny South Wales. Is that allowed? I didn't think Wales was allowed to be sunny. Anyway, Rob Curdu's here. Hello from a muggy York. Rich John, Trevor, Paul Crouch, Andrew... Andy is here. The real Steve is here. Yo,
hey, we can start.
We can start. We're allowed to. Robin's here. Hello, mate. Captain Aqua is here. Good evening, he says. Good evening to you. David Benson, we just established he's stuffing himself with baguettes, apparently. We've got Cardboard Fortress. Good evening. Evening all. Catching my first live show in a while. Old World Dwarves on the desk tonight. Double Dips here. Hello, mate. It's going to go. Barnes is here. Hello, Barnes White. Hello, good evening. Furby Viking is here. Tyler, good evening, mate. How you doing? He's coming in from hot and dry Tennessee. Very good. Getting into painting 28mm Napoleonic French from piano. Well, that's a good choice. Wargames Hobby, hello Alex, how are you doing, mate? Thanks for the game the other night, we had a cracker, it was great fun. Ewok Kebab is in the house. Plebiscite is here. Lazy Pirate, I think we're almost there. Wargaming History, hello mate. David is here as well. Granddad's Art Space. Paul Hicks is here, good evening.
Hey.
Man is in the house. History and Dice. David Lowy, Major Clanger, and I think I've got to the bottom of everybody. If I've missed you, apologies. Yes. What do I mean? Dom didn't get the memo re sci-fi themed shirts tonight. No, I didn't actually. I'm wearing my yeah, you two are. Look at you two.
Well, what's yours?
This is from the oh god, what was it from? Oh, the Sea Shanty Festival in Falmouth.
Oh, right, yeah.
It does look a little bit like Yorkshire's t-shirt.
Do you know what it does?
Or it does, or you also look a little bit like a blue shirt from Star Trek. You could just. Our red shirt isn't here, so.
Well, if I'm as long as I'm not the red shirt, because otherwise I wouldn't survive the show, would I? Yeah, blimey. No, there's no holes around here for me to fall down. It's all good. Good. Right. Welcome, everybody. As I say, really pleased to be here. Trash Panda Games. Hello, mate. Blimey. Hello from upstate New York. Been a while since I caught the stream, and I'm working on 28mm Native Americans for Flint and Feathers and some 1/100th UH-60 Blackhawks. You've done some Native Americans recently, haven't you, Steve?
Yes.
All those. Yeah, they look damn good. They did too.
Thank you.
So, what have you been up to, everybody? What have you been up to? I won't say to Martin because he's got a mouthful of sprue. What have you been up to, Steve?
I'm currently. Do you know what? It's very rare. There's actually a box of Perry's on my desk at the moment.
Yeah, but what are you doing to those Perrys?
I am butchering many, many, many kits tonight. All in the name of weirdness. Actually, I've just come up with a really cool kit bash. It's the body of a Frostgrave cultist. And looks like a halberd from the that Wars of the Roses set. That looks really cool. I'm chuffed with that. Right, what have we been up to?
We should have a challenge tonight. And Steve, tell us what sprues you've got on your desk, and then we want everybody to suggest which elements he has to bring together tonight. Head from where, the body from where.
It's like can't cook, won't cook.
Exactly.
There is currently Cawdor Necromunda, Perry's Mercenaries, Perry's Wars of the Roses, Frostgrave Cultists, Living Dead Peasants by Fireforge, Ash Waste Nomads Necromunda War Party, Wargames Atlantic World War I Germans, Wargames Atlantic Knights, and other bits and pieces. I'm only aiming to make 3 figures.
Plenty to work with. I'm afraid, Plebiscite, we've lost this debate. When Alan and Michael were on the stream, was it a year and a half ago or something, and I asked them whether it was okay to do that, and they said yes, it was. So I've lost that battle. I can't win it. If they say it's fine, what can we do? I mean, I agree. It's blasphemy. There you go.
Anyway, can't argue it anymore. So last week I mentioned I was working on a giant fly.
Okay.
And I've finished it. I worked on this. I built it on the Saturday and I worked on it every single day, including Friday after work. I was that eager to get it finished, and Saturday morning as well. So it was a full week's work, and it's done.
Good.
And there it is.
Oh my Lord! Look at that.
That is glorious.
Do you know what, Steve? That is glorious. I will give you that. That is amazing.
I don't know how many hours.
I have a question. You know the thing that's the thing that's riding it, yeah?
Yeah.
You know that horn that's coming out the saddle?
Yeah. That's not his. That's not his.
That's not his horn. That's not his.
No. Wouldn't that be a bit uncomfortable?
It would be, especially for emergency brakes.
I just wondered who it was a codpiece. I was trying to work out.
So possibly the longest I've spent on a single model in
that is months. Extraordinary, mate.
Thanks, Andrew. And here's the guy. Oh no, that's a close up of the rider.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't know I'm looking at, but I'm impressed. Even though
I've got a newfound interest in painting diseased figures. So that was that. I've got another one of those to do as well. I've got one left. So, so as part of that kit as well, I also finished this guy.
He's a happy chappy.
I
think the IBS is a real bit of a bugger with him.
Say, he might need some Buscopan after that.
Yeah, I think he will. Jeez.
I had a really hot curry the other week, and I actually felt like that afterwards. That's a Blight King champion.
Of course, I was going to say that.
So that's all 3 so far.
What are these for? What are you using for?
Well, they're from the Maggot King of Nurgle Spearhead box, Age of Sigmar. I'm just painting them because I like painting Nurgle. Right. And like I say, I just love painting disease at the moment. It's brilliant. A lot of fun. But then yesterday I went back to normality and I painted my first Victrix German from the new German kit.
Oh, very nice.
An absolute pleasure it was as well. That kit is stunning. And I'm really looking forward to building and painting more. Just so different to what I normally work on World War II wise. But yeah, brilliant. So that's what I've been up to. Back to kit bashing tonight because today I bought a game called 1490 Doom. I mentioned it last week, and it's brilliant. It's small scale skirmish. I want to get Yorkshire Ken's take on it because it's 3v3 on a 2x2 board.
3v3 on
so each Doom company is
tell him what the shape of the board is. Tell him the shape of the board.
It's big. It's up. So you build
and round.
Up and round.
So it's a globe basically. You're fighting.
No, it's like a big tower. So the premise is in 1490, a strange fog appeared, and it started to grow higher, and it was killing people and stuff like that. And so humans form Doom companies to survive, and they hide things up in high towers. They live in high towers to get away from this fog. But it's small scale. It's 2x2. It's very low figure count. It's miniature agnostic, hence all the kit bashing, and it's very weird shit as well, which is the main thing. I watched a couple of battle reports over the weekend, and I was like, I don't want to get into new systems. I mean, I've got enough as I'm doing, but I bought the ebook today, and that's what I'm doing now. That's why I've been in the stash tonight, dragging out all told number of boxes doing kit bashing. But that's what I'm going to be doing for them. I mean, I'm going to try and have the entire thing built, within a couple of 2 weeks or so for the entire warband. So. Wow. I mean, you look like you haven't got a clue what I've just been talking about.
I don't know what you've been talking about the last 10 minutes, mate. No idea. Not a Scooby-Doo. Yeah, well, James says, I'm still waiting to see Steve kick bash a Huey door into a turnip thing.
No, I'm not. I'm not visiting that kit ever again. As much as I enjoyed finishing it, it was.
Living Dead Peasant sounds like a Rob Zombie album.
It really, or a Rob Zombie film.
Yeah. Oh my lord. Oh well. No, that's brilliant, mate. I mean, whatever keeps you happy.
In sort of the nicest way possible.
Exactly.
No, I think it's brilliant. I love that. I do love that bug. I agree entirely with the sentiment. I don't want to like it, but it's absolutely fantastic. Really, really good. I don't think I've ever painted anything that big.
The worst thing about it, what I'm going to do next time is paint the rider separate, because the instructions say, I painted the fly first, then you put the rider on. But
yeah,
it's only anchored by a small tactical rock. So when I was painting, like I said in the Facebook group, it was bouncing around like Zebedee. It was like boing, 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 all over the place. So it was really difficult to actually paint it.
Yeah.
So what you don't want is the magic roundabout while you're painting Nurgle.
True. I mean, I hear you. Valley Boy, New Zealand. Whoop whoop! Managed to join the live chat for the first time ever. Can't think of anything.
Hey.
Well, welcome anyway. It's good to have you here.
Safe journey, mate, when you do go back. But yeah,
good safe journey home. Blimey, that's a long old trek.
That is a long trip.
A long, long way. What about you, Martin? What you been up to, mate?
Hang on. I'm trying to find my
spitting sprues everywhere. Everyone seems to be knee deep in sprues at the moment.
I'm knee deep in Perry sprues, but I'm using them for what they're supposed to be used for. So just to make you,
you traditionalist, you.
Yeah. It's stupid. This new menu is. Oh god, it just disappeared. There we go.
They keep changing it as well, don't they? You get used to it, and then they keep changing it.
Yeah, that little ticker thing keeps throwing me as well. I keep on feeling like we've got a warning or something down the bottom. What have I been doing? I've done a few little bits and bobs, but I've been doing a lot of planning this week. So the thing I did, people probably saw the video, and that's what I was building on last week's stream. I built all of the buildings from Warbases, the new table ready. Oh yeah. Early medieval buildings, which you can see there, minus one of them because I couldn't fit it in the photo. I enjoyed putting those in. It's I was chatting with Glenn about it because obviously they very handily release this at the same time as Baron's War and Pillage and everything else is just a coincidence, obviously. But no, they're very cool. I did just sort of like go through them, and this was before I hit them with a little bit of matte varnish as well, as you can probably tell, with the shine on the top of the building. But yeah, I think they're really good. I built all those in about half an hour last week while we were doing the stream. Nice. I think they do the job very well, especially if you don't want to spend ages building or painting terrain. Other thing I did was
take much to top them up a bit more, would it? Really, we could do.
No, I just I threw a little bit of weathering pigment onto them, just here and there, just to, and then honestly, I said in my review that I felt the Marmite thing for people would be the thatch because the texture, but because even the texture of thatch is really, really hard to do in plastic. For example, is one of the few criticisms of the Blessed Perries that I have is that their medieval bollocks. I just dropped everything. Their medieval cottage that they sell, the sort of the texture on the thatch is so fine that it's really not very deep. So I just went through and scored it. With a hobby knife, but you could just put some teddy bear fur on there.
Yeah, I was going to say teddy bear fur would be a friend with this, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely would. So I did those, and then I painted up some more Normans and some Saxons. Now the Normans, I'm waiting for just the shields to finish, but the Saxons, I just decided to reinforce them. So we have a priest who's come along, so you can use healers in Pillage and any other game. He'll just be a monk, and then he brought along some buddies as well. I just quite like being able. The thing that's quite nice about it is you can just paint up whatever the hell you like, to be honest. So there's the chaps there. So I just put them together and just thought, I'll paint up those ones. And then the Normans, I've done 3 knights that I actually had already built, but they were built up as Seljuks from the Victrix set. So I had to go about removing faces and heads and things, and just I've got so many Normans hanging around that I have plenty of spares. But at the moment, I am building 5 bases for a War of the Roses game, and I need 4 specific commanders, right, for it, and I can't use any of what I've got. It's that specific. But because they don't spend all their time as commanders, I'm going to do them on my normal basis so they can then just go in units after this. So nice. Which is why I was so excited just back then, because I've been looking through my stash of Wars of the Roses stuff, and I found enough armored bodies to do the commanders. I know. Yeah, okay.
It was. Definitely was, Steve. It was playing into there. They hear everything.
They do. My lighter is gone. Oh, no, there it is. So I've done that. I've done a lot of research, but in doing so, I've also...
You've got more than enough War of the Roses leaders anyway.
Okay, no, not for this I haven't.
I recognise the...
so for this... So we'll talk about it, because for this scenario, because also I'm not going just with the base scenario in the book, because I disagree slightly with how the book has framed it. I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 commanders for one side.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I've got 3 of them. So I need to get building. And annoyingly, on the other side, I actually have all the commanders for the other side, but 2 of them are on the same base. So I need to create another one without him on the base. So it's one of those. So anyway, I'm having a lot of fun. Back to what I enjoy doing. What about you? What have you been doing?
Back to the original. Been okay actually. I've done a fair bit. I am truly hooked in on the old Italian wars at the moment. That just seems to be everything at the moment. I showed this on the Facebook page, but I did another pipe block. Well, I recognise in Ken Riley's terms, this isn't a pipe block; it's just a pipe chip or something. But I just having fun doing them. So it's another one for the Italians, for the Italian battalion I'm putting together. So I think that's 3 now I've got for them. In fact, I laid out all the ones I've painted on the table just to check what I've got, so I now know what I need to paint more of.
They're very nice.
Cavalry, so I need to get around to. Not that I don't mind painting cavalry; it's just the gendarmes just a little bit intimidating. So that's what I'm going to launch into at some point. But yeah, they were fun to do. I really enjoyed doing those. I never, a bit like you, Martin. I kind of never thought I'd need any more Perrys in my life in terms of War of the Roses stuff, and I found myself buying more mercenary boxes and light cavalry and what have you boxes.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at other places and going, maybe I should just go and get some different models, and then I just thought, bugger it, I know what I'm doing with these, and they'll look good. So.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. I also did some crossbowmen to go with them. So
nice.
in the new supplement, you can put a sort of you can have integrated crossbow or arquebuses or halberdiers as well within the pike, and they suggest sort of highlighting them with just a rank of them so that you can put them in front or what have you. So I've started to put some on single or double bases like that and triple bases. So I'm just working through adding some there. So I've got some flexibility. And again, these all join the Italian battaglia, which I'm sort of predominantly doing crossbows for. So again, Perry crossbows because we love them. And then because I didn't want it seen that I'm only doing Italian wars, even though that's pretty much what I'm doing, I got on with some accessory stuff. So
nice.
These are more from the those 3D printed stuff from Parabellum. So I bought they do, I think they call it like a town accessories or something like that. And you get about 4 different carts, and they get various fencing and the well and various other bits and bobs. So I haven't done it all, but I just started painting them up because they're A, dead simple to do, and B, kind of nice for games and whatnot. So so that's really what I've been working on. At the moment, I've just started and I did that project of rebasing lots of figures from yesteryear. When I started, I went back in and I was looking at my 28mm medieval stuff, which most of it I remembered what I had, but I'm actually surprised how much of it I can reuse for various things. So some of it's going into the Baron Wars, some of it's going into the War of the Roses, and some of it's going to Italy, depending on what the armor looks like and what have you. So I'm quite enjoying just sort of ripping figures off bases again and reapplying them and just tarting them up a bit. It's one thing I found with this. I don't know whether anybody else has this when they're reconditioning models, is that it doesn't take an awful lot to improve models once they've been a little bit battered around, or you're not happy with the paint job. Just take them and just add a little bit here and there. Work on the faces a bit. Work on it's not difficult, is it?
No, it's like last week when I showed off that Monty Python Black Knight little thing that I made. That had been in a bitch box for years, just lying there in not in a very good condition. I spent about 45 minutes just basically fixing all the mistakes and putting a better shade of white on it. And I thought this is beyond repair. This, but no, like you said, a couple of it's easily done. It's really easily fixed.
I've done it before now. I bought figures off eBay that are pretty shoddily done, and as long as they haven't been coated in tons of varnish, you can often, without having to strip. I know some people will just strip them all down and what have you, but I can't. I'm too lazy for that, so I just tend to then just sort of try and improve the paint job rather than replace it entirely. And especially with things like washes and contrasts, you can do so much with it. It's amazing how much you can do just to bring it back into some semblance of something decent. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm quite pleased I did, because I found I had a whole basically a heavy cavalry regiment which can be used for the Italian wars, which is great. So that's one less I'm going to have to paint. And I just found all these. Well, I didn't find because I knew I had them, but I found these. I think these are Black Tree miniatures, which are fairly elusive because they never send anything out anymore. These are, which I think will do perfectly well for the War of the Roses. They look like they're perfectly good as just sort of those, peasant longbowman units. So I'm quite looking forward to that. So that's must be a couple of units there at least to redo. So very, very good indeed. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. What's that smell? Battle of Pavia. Yes, Pavia is very interesting battle. It is indeed, mate. Absolutely is. Bizarrely, it's not in the new book. Well, I say bizarrely, but the author said when I pointed, or somebody pointed out in my review of the book, he said, well, it's in the back of the rule book, which actually it is. So, anyway, good. It's not one less regiment to paint, Dom. It's an extra one on top of the one that you buy. Okay, maybe, possibly. You might be right, Robin. Anyway, that's brilliant. Everyone's been very productive, which is good to see. So tonight, getting on to the topic, this was suggested by Darren, who's one of our subs, one of the people who follows us and comes on the stream. I think he watches the replays. But anyway, he contacted us a while ago talking about rule sets that he wanted to do with his son and what have you, and we had a bit of a back and forth on that. And in the end, he decided to... You'll love this, Martin. He took Line Rampant and basically took the elements he saw from things like Hail Caesar, which he liked, and then adapted them to Line Rampant to get a rule set, and said he was really happy with it and it worked really well. And he said, well, this is an interesting topic, isn't it, about changing how much you're prepared to adapt and change rules. And I thought, yeah, it is actually a really interesting topic. Something I think a lot of wargamers do is adapt and replace rules. And it got me thinking, sort of how far down the line do we go to adapt and amend, change the rule sets that somebody's like Mr. Lard has spent an awful lot of time building and doing, and then we come along and go, actually, I don't like that. I'm going to change that. And we change that. How much do we do of that? And what point do we get to a new set of rules, or to a set of rules that actually doesn't look anything like the old ones? And in fact, we might as well have just moved on and got something completely different. So anyway, what I did was, I meant to do this last week, but I only did it today, and it's interesting to see the results. So I put up a little poll on the Facebook page. And if you're not a member of the Facebook page, why aren't you? The link's down below. Just click on that and you'll join and share all your work and what you're doing and what have you with us. But I put a little poll up saying how many times people change rules. So, and it actually surprised me. I thought that most wargamers were like me and the people I know, where we always have at least one house rule. But actually, 60% of people who responded said that they never amend rules. They use basically the rules as written in their games. And I was surprised by that. I don't know about you guys, but that sort of caught me by surprise.
Yeah. I thought more, like you said, as gamers, we can't leave things alone.
No.
That's what I found anyway. But yeah, that's a very surprising number.
60% seemed high to me, but it is what it is. That's what people said. And it was 25% said they changed one or two parts of the rules. And actually only 4% went more than that, which was interesting. In fact, so there's another one here. Somebody added in about they only play the rules as written. So that adds in. So yeah, it's well over 60% play the rules exactly as they're written, which kind of intrigued me. So I'm interested, sort of. Let's start with Steve, because I know Martin's got a strong point on this. So when it comes to a rule set, how much do you like to tinker, and how quickly do you tinker with a rule set?
I don't do a lot of tinkering. There's things that I'd like to try, but getting my mate to try experimental rules isn't easy. Starting with bolt action, what we got rid of, we've just got rid of Tiger Fear and Turret Jam, because they were crap.
They got Tiger Fear in the end, didn't they?
Yeah, but that Turret Jam rule was just ridiculous. It was just so ridiculous. And I just, because we played a couple of games with it, and every shot, everyone's turret was jamming. I was like, can we just stop jamming each other's turrets, please? This is becoming boring. So in the end, we decided just to get rid of it. We never used Tiger Fair because I just didn't like it. So they were.
We can start again. Big Small World says, didn't know you were on. Can you go back and start again? Sorry.
No, Marty might have to throw stuff around.
Yeah, exactly.
I've only just managed to find it.
Exactly. So you don't want him doing that. So they were the two main ones. It's unless it's really annoying to me, which most rule sets that I play aren't really annoying. Those two rules annoyed me, and they just detracted from enjoying the game. One thing that I want to introduce into my games of bolt action is to introduce variable movement rather than set movement. So, like they have in Chain of Command. So so with bolt action, you move. If you say move there, go over there, and
somewhere Alex just jumped for joy.
And I can understand it's just movement, but if you're trying to make it a bit realistic, I want to incorporate that into it because it brings that friction. I mean, they may start running and get spooked by someone that's just fired from over there, and they may not make it to the wall. They may not make it to that farmhouse. They may just freeze. Something might happen. And that's what I like about Chain of Command is you've got that uncertainty with movement. You don't know whether you're going to get to that hedgerow. But with bolt action, I know that if I want my chaps to move to that wall, they're going to move to the wall. I mean, there may be bullets flying over them and, explosions and smoke and shouting and confusion. I know they're still going to get there.
Yeah.
Which I don't like. So I'm still tinkering with how to get that variable movement into the order dice mechanic. You've got advance and run in bolt action. So I'd need to. I've done some sort of really small testing to see how it works, but that's something that I would like to have permanently in games of bolt action. Would be that variable movement, just to bring that uncertainty, that friction, that you've not got full control over what your squads, what your sections are going to do, because it all seems very safe. If they've got the movement allowance, they're going to get there.
Some people get sort of around that by putting in a turn end dice or something, don't they? So that,
I know Travis did it.
You won't necessarily get every unit moving.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, Alex. The 2d6 and the run 3d6.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, but yeah, it's definitely something I'm going to think of because it's something that's always not bothered me, but I just wanted to change. Having watched loads and loads of Chain of Command battle reports, I do like that variable movement. It does bring that sense of realism and are your troops going to get to where they want to go? Are they going to be stuck out in the middle of a cornfield? Are they going to be stuck out in the middle of a road? That is the main thing that I would like to introduce permanently into my games of bolt action.
Interesting. So go on then, Martin. What's your view on house ruling, changing rules?
Well, this is the thing. Because I knew you were going to point at me and go. I don't actually feel that I change as much as you think I do. And that's because I on your thing I clicked. I changed maybe up to like 2 to 3 rules, but they're what I would consider sensible changes. So, but if you're talking about the stuff like, for example, the Wars of the Roses, when I did a 35-page document, I don't consider that house ruling. I consider that expanding the rules to cover a period, because I didn't change any of the rules of the basic game. I just added new ones.
Yeah.
Whereas house ruling, I consider to be something where you change a core concept in a game.
Yeah.
So, for example, bolt action, I like it when we add the tiffin in. I prefer that, and that comes out and you end the game. I thought that was fun. Still doesn't make bolt action fun for me, but it made it more fun to look at, to sort of, not know when the turn was going to end. Other ones who do black powder, one straight off the bat, and I was doing this before it was in Clash of Eagles, was passing an order test to form square, because I just thought, well, it should be fairly straightforward to form square, but there should be more of a chance that they're going to screw it up. Yeah. Because I want that cavalry. We don't play often enough that that they're going to fail it. So just an order test. And that way, if you did have a crap commander and you're mimicking, that failed order to turn square, and then that was in Clash of Eagles. And now I think, from my experience, that most people do that. Do you do it, or do you do an order test, or do you do the as it's written in the main rule book?
I have to say, more often than not, we'll do exactly that. We'll do the Clash of Eagles version, but occasionally we won't. It's like all these sort of house rules, and I actually agree with you entirely with the whole kind of changing rules versus just sort of having a flavour, because that's effectively what a supplement's doing anyway, isn't it? It's changing them.
Yeah, exactly. So
I agree, but I think we often adapt things, but we'll agree in advance of the game. So we'll say, are we playing this or are we playing that? Because that can get terribly confusing if everyone's playing different versions.
You're right, though. If you change, I mean, the thing is there a certain? I mean, it all depends on your rule set, right? Now, I'm using, and I'm not doing this just to annoy Steph because I know he hates them. The sort of black powder and Hellseason, but they're very easy to adapt and write rules for. I have never formed square. Do you know why? Because they're for chumps, like James said right there. But that's the thing. Unless there is a mechanic written in the game where I have to automatically do it, I won't do it. So I kind of feel like the game takes pity on me.
Yeah,
it's kind of like easy mode automatically forming square, isn't it? House rules for rockets. As long as the rockets can blow up in your face, then it's absolutely fine. Good example there is the cannons. I think cannons, especially in the medieval period, should blow up because that's how King of Scotland got a little bit too close to one cannon and it went boom. And the whole course of actually British history was changed because of that cannon, because his descendant became the first Stuart king. Anyway, if think certain games like Black Powder and all of those, they are very easy to house rule. They have universal special rules. More and more games are picking those up now, and it's very easy to add things in or take things away. A game like the Baron's War or something like 0 to 100 hours, if you're going to change like a core mechanic, that has ramifications further on because everything is linked. Everything is, sort of.
You have to be careful of unintended consequences when you're changing rules.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible in Black Powder and Hellseason. I know you told me about one game you had where they didn't like the in Hellseason they didn't like that a 6 was a break test.
Yes.
Instead, so they said, we went back to automatically disordering people. It's like, yeah, but they've got a stamina of 6, so they're never going to leave the table at this rate, So you have to have a think about things. My main house rules are where we. I was trying to think. I can't honestly think of any that I do which aren't actually what I would consider expanding on things because I feel that more detail is required. That's purely sort of that was the whole thing behind the Wars of the Roses. Was that I just didn't feel that there was enough detail and what was covered was wrong. So that was my feeling. Alex has got it here. Testing to form square covers a multitude of events on a battlefield. It could be an order gets misunderstood. The troops are slow to react. The enemy cavalry is closer than expected. Yes, and that is why I really like Soldiers of Napoleon, because if they get that card out where all of a sudden the cavalry just get that extra boost because you, even though you have set movement ranges, they suddenly get a second bit of movement. You're caught out in the open, and then you re-release Scott film. I don't feel it's going to form Rhombus. I still haven't watched it.
Don, you're naughty. You're naughty. Yeah. I think it's interesting. I think I was the one that we most often house rule that is different, I guess, as written. I actually agree with you, Martin, in terms of having flavour and different bits and bobs for things. I mean, to me, that's sort of. I mean, it is house ruling, but it's not in a way. But I think the one we pretty much always play is in all those Black Powder based games is that if you move 3 turns, you can't fire. Because we
so that's a house. Yeah, that's a house.
Yeah, we got first major with Napoleonic games where you move forward you rolled 3 movement dice, you move forward 36 inches with your British line, and then you just blew the shit out of anything on the end of it because you could fire. And we thought that was just, if you're moving that quickly, then you wouldn't be in the position to get yourself ready to fire. And so we always said, if you want to fire, you can only move 2. For instance, so and that was a sort of a modification that we all came up with and we all feel happy with, and I guess that's part of it, isn't it? Whoever you play with has got to feel comfortable. I mean, have you ever been this? I'd be interested also in the chat. If anyone's been in a situation where they've sort of been persuaded to house rule something which they're not actually happy with. Kind of they're playing with 4 people. There's 4 people around the table, and 3 of them go, "Oh, we should do it this way." And you go, "I don't like that," but you kind of have to go along with it. You ever had that, Steve? Forced into a rule change?
Probably in our games of 2nd edition 40k, but my brain is. I mean, my brain is largely blank. Those traumatic days.
Wipe those out. So there's a certain rule we play at the club, which again it's different because they're written by the club. But there was some things in that I just thought, I'm not comfortable with that. But you kind of have to go with it because everyone else is happy with it, or you don't play it. So I don't play those rules anymore. But yeah,
I think the one that we probably we're going to talk about things like this in a couple of weeks. Your week is going to lead into my week, because my week in a couple of weeks is rules of no purpose. So I don't want to kind of link onto things. They are very different things. But my one is the one that is most common in our group, not with Robin, is just the pre-measuring. Because I didn't realise it was as controversial as it was. When I released that pillage video and I said, it's no pre-measuring, I got loads of comments going, "This is so archaic." I was sitting there, I was like, is it? Is it really? Oh, what was it? What's the point in not having pre-measuring? This isn't the 1990s. That was one comment on my video.
Wow. That's an interesting thing. You told me about this, and I couldn't actually believe it. And then it got me thinking. That it's like, you're right though, because it used to be very much a thing. You couldn't pre-measure, and it's sort of fallen out of favour with rules.
It's that God's eye, if no. But then, what about variable movement? No pre-measuring, and see, I like. There are games that kind of do half and half. Like, for example, Dead Man's Hand. You can only measure the first move because you say 3 actions, and you're only allowed to measure the first one. And the idea being that your person knows that they'll make it to there, but they don't know what's around the corner. But. Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing I just thought was really, really bizarre. I quite like not pre-measuring. I like the uncertainty, especially if you're adding in variable movement as well. You just end up with loads of people stuck in the mud in the middle of the field.
I wouldn't like to be able to pre-measure. It's like riding a bike with stabilizers. Well, it is, because there's no. Where's the risk?
Yeah. Also, I think it's kind of a skill, isn't it? Of actually, I think as well, when you're looking at it and you go, well, that looks like that's 12 inches away, and the range is 12 inches. I should be good to go. And if you get it wrong, it's your fault.
Well, I told you when I used to play X-Wing, and I read an article somewhere about people that had pre-measured on their thumbs and their arms. So when they put their hands on the board, just by looking at
I remember you telling us that. Yeah,
they could sort of see what measuring stick or what range band they'd be in for combat. I was like, that's some next level stuff. That if you're measuring limbs just to get an advantage in a game,
eventually, it. Honestly, it doesn't. It's not like it doesn't bother me. I'm not going to get out my pram about it. But I feel like I find out a game is no pre-measuring, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay, no. But I see it seems to be gone the other way now, where people are like, no. I was really surprised. I think I got. I'll go back to the video. I think I got about 5-6 pure comments purely based on their hatred
on that one mechanic.
I'm not genuinely. Someone said it was no pre-measuring. Thanks. This has saved me money. was like, okay.
Wow.
It's extraordinary.
But then I just sit there and go, well, just go ahead. It's what I said, that's if you don't like it, then just go ahead and pre-measure.
That wouldn't break the game, would it?
No, and that's what I would consider, or the other way around. If you don't want to pre-measure, then just say, the moment you've picked up that, you can measure once you've committed to the action, I guess, and just. Yeah, I don't know. I found the whole thing quite bizarre.
I suppose. I can remember so many games where you just had to estimate things like when you were firing cannons or catapults or things, you had to guess the distance that it was from the target. And then, if you got lucky, Robin just said it in the chat, you get good at measuring you get, good at guessing the distances. You do occasionally get people doing some really silly things like just moving a unit alongside just to sort of judge what the distance was, so they know the next one along, that they'll be able to charge into contact or whatever. But interesting.
with X-Wing, I became quite good at judging the different turning arcs just by eye. I played it that much. That was a really useless skill to have outside of X-Wing. So I've never.
You didn't go down the road and judge their buses were going to turn or anything like that.
I've never had to use it.
Transport correspondent or something.
But again, it'd be like someone like pre-measuring to people in X-Wing, allowing them to pre-measure their turns. What's the point? Now there's going to be no risk. There's been no ships hitting each other. It's no, count me out of that.
Bizarre. Anyway, we got on to pre-measuring more than anything else, but that is a good example of people changing things. Let's have a look at. There were some really good comments people put on the post actually, so I'm going to look at some of those. Just bear with me, pull it up. Ashley said, once upon a time, I built an excellent cornfield. Well, I thought it was pretty cool. It did look, you sent a picture and it did look very cool. I spent a full Sunday afternoon coming up with a mechanic that would provide initial concealment for the troops entering the cornfield for the first time before being trodden down. Troops moved at half speed when moving through the cornfield, but each base of cornfield is removed the first time a unit moves through it, i.e., the cornfield only affects movement for the first one moving through it, and then it's considered trampled. I was very proud of my cornfield and my rule, only to see it march through and vaporized in the very first game turn on the first move.
I quite like that. We have sort of almost dynamic cover. The cover changes as the game sort of goes on. I know people who, as a house rule, will put down craters and things after artillery barrages and create like a changing battlefield. And that's something that they just like to do. So when I've gone around their house and I've played that was a surprise for me. All of a sudden my guys are wet. But I mean, it makes sense, but I wasn't ready for it. I think as long as you're clear about things beforehand, it's like before a game, just saying, so this is hard ground, this is hard ground, this is an obstacle, this is impassable. These fields are not hard going, these ones are. And these bits of foliage they're not actually anything, they're just there to look pretty. So a bit like our game where we were like this statue or whatever it was, that cross we can just move through that. It's not actually going to hinder anything, it's just there. So again, as long as you establish that beforehand, I'd be pretty peeved if someone waited until I was about to move into and they went, oh yeah, by the way, there's this rule that we play. I'd at least tell them before the game.
You would hope, wouldn't you? You would hope. Actually, Matt said, but he said really two comments which made me chuckle. He said, if I'm spending 30 quid on a set of rules, I don't have to expect to write my own rules, which is a fair point, to be fair.
Yes.
And then he also said, I'm also suspicious of people who house rule because I play so many games, I forget a lot of rules. So if someone suggests a house rule, it could be because they think they've gained an advantage from it, from that change. I might not know the rules well enough to realise that. So I always must ask myself the question, what's the reason for the house rule? Maybe just maybe just people you're up against, Matt, are just devious, all out to get you.
We used to do more house ruling in RPGs because your group kind of develops a way of playing and a system of it. So we would have things. Although you could quite easily do this in war games, we had little re-rolls is another one. Giving out re-rolls at the start of a game. So in RPGs, for example, we would give out little chits for role, like little rewards in the game if someone did something funny or role playing. We give them a poker chit, and at the end of the game, they could trade it in for extra experience, or during the game, they could cash it in to automatically get a critical hit or re-roll something. Yeah, but you could easily put that into loads of games. People like to house roll things for commanders. One of the biggest ones for the Warlord games is increasing the commander reroll distance, because it's only 12 inches that's written, but actually saying right, actually we're gonna, otherwise a commander's a bit redundant in some scenarios when you're playing on like a 12-foot wide table.
True.
But that's the one I've probably seen change quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the I still remember the comment someone made on one of my videos where they were saying, "Oh, I see you're playing." What did they? We were supposed to be playing Hail Caesar, and they said you Hail Pike and Shot you're playing, because we were bastardizing bits of elements of Black Powder, bits of Hail Caesar, and bits of Pike and Shot, and it wasn't a deliberate house ruling. It was just the fact we got it all wrong, and we were playing different bits from each of them, just because we were stupid and we forgot. Just the way it is. Jeffrey said, I usually try and find a rule set that mimics what I want to achieve in a scenario design, or as close as possible. So that got me thinking, because there's quite a few comments around, they basically people will modify games, and you'd said it yourself, Martin, for certain scenarios or battles or what have you, they'll modify the rules to accommodate that.
Yeah.
So how quickly do you think that you get into a rule set and go, "No, I don't like that, I'm going to change that"? Or how quickly?
Be a few games, because I can't always be sure it's not just me. before there's something that I don't particularly like, or if there's something I would give it 2 or 3 games before I change something. That much,
What about you, Steve? Would you?
Yeah,
would
same.
You give it a bit of a chance first before you leap in?
Yeah, it'd be a few games. I wouldn't play it sort of once or twice and then completely rip out most of the pages. It'd be a couple of games and then test it, see how it works. I wouldn't just arbitrarily say, right, that rule's over, this is the new way, this is how we're playing it. But I wouldn't do it straight away. You'd need to really get a feel for the game, feel for the actual mechanics of the game before you start,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the question then is how, because I agree, we'd probably play a good couple of games and then sort of think, did we get that right? Is it actually how it's supposed to be, or do we need to change it in some way? But I wonder also then, what point you go, well, you know what, the rules just aren't doing it for me, because I'm having to make so many changes. I'm going to have to chuck them away, and I might as well chuck them away, because there is. I mean, that was Darren's original question: was how far down the line does it go with the modifying before you go, you know what, these aren't the rules anymore. I might as well buy a new set, because they're not doing what I want them to do. Have you ever got to that point with your rules where you just think, not happy with this? It's I've made so many changes. There's so many black lines in the book that you think, well, I'll throw it away and start a new one.
I think if I got to the point where I was house ruling someone enough, I'd be like, why am I playing this in the first place? I'll just go and play a different game or make my own. The thing is, you can have core mechanics in the game that you really enjoy, and then it can be like, for something as simple as like, the morale rules aren't particularly your cup of tea, or I don't know, or even just the list bit, like the list building. I don't, me and list building, what it's like. I hardly ever use those kind of restrictions. I do in some battle reports, because people like to see how a game is meant to be played, and then the next battle I'll go, right, now we're just going to do whatever the hell we want.
Going free form.
Now we're doing it this way. I've played by your rules. Now I'm going to do it this way. I suppose that's probably one of the biggest changes. I kind of create my own points systems for something. that I think is more if it's a historical game, is more reflective of the historical period, because I don't care about balance. I'm not Yoda. I don't care about balance and all this. I'm quite happy. That's one of the big things, and I'm using Pillage as an example because there's a lot of people who are coming into Pillage saying this is their first historical game, and I've been answering lots of comments, and I've had people say, "Could you do a comparison video with the various forces?" And I sort of sat there going, "Yeah, but it's a historical game. Man with sword is much the same as other man with sword, unless he's eaten a lot of mushrooms." And then it's man with big axe because it takes twice as much to kill him, kind of. It's not a game where you have profiles and power ratings and list. It doesn't quite work like that. So and then I sat there thinking about it, going, God, I don't even like this level of list building, let alone like the next one, And I went and had a look at 40k videos, and I didn't read. There's so many videos comparing and contrasting builds and lists, and
oh God,
I
don't even play them, but I've seen all those sort of things. It's the same with things like the Lord of the Ring games. Jeez, I mean, people are spending hours and hours list building, which kind of appeals. I'm not going to lie.
John, okay, I'll just answer this because he said, "Do I find to hold back on changing things so I know be filming it at some point?" I would hold back on changing it straight away until I've done a couple of videos showing it. I think, to be fair, and I think the other two would probably agree with me, if we've been sent a rule book, and I'm sure Alex is the same as well. Actually, I know Alex is because he did Black Powder. You would play a few games with it, especially if you've been sent it. And the whole point is that you're showcasing this game. And then you would go, right, I like this or I don't like this. And then you would do a video going, right, I've played it as it is. And now here's a few of the changes I've made. Martin, you would love Saga. I've played loads of Saga. There's a whole load of battle reports. Yeah, I do like Saga, as long as it's in the Viking age. But yeah, I think if you've been sent something, and you're reviewing it, you should review it as it plain, if you like, before you start tinkering with it too much. I mean, obviously, if you
exactly the same as we're saying about tinkering with rules, we don't change them until they've had a fair crack. You give them a go, and if you're not happy with them, then you change them. So why would you do any different?
Yeah,
when you're getting a review copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Interesting. Wargaming history said, "Yep, Maurice played 8 games. Prussians ran over everyone, sold them."
8 games, right? Yes.
I mean, it's fair enough. And there's lots of comments on SPQR. I'm not going to talk about SPQR tonight. It's a nice evening. We don't want to spoil things by talking about that. Thank you very much.
I've not mentioned it. I've not mentioned it yet, but one of the things that I've house ruled, and this is if John Sowerby's in the chat. When I introduced him to Space Weirdos, and he went back to the States and introduced it to his local club, and he tried a rule. Unless you play Space Weirdos, you may not have any idea what I'm talking about. Where when you're in melee combat, in the rules you use your defense to defend against attacks. So John started using the prowess value instead, and it does improve the game. And I've started doing it since John mentioned that. I've now done that, so that is a change to Space Weirdos that I make. Is that we defense is for being shot at, so that is how good you were using cover, or generally getting out of the way of people shooting at you. Was prowess is the fisticuffs, and it made absolute sense to do it that way. And I've played that rule ever since John mentioned it, and it works.
That's good to hear. Okay, I've said I'm not going to talk about SPQR, but I like Matt's comment here because I think it's actually a good one. Have you ever played a game that you couldn't house roll to improve? I'm looking at you, SPQR. So I think that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because there's rules you get, and I'm not just saying about SPQR. Oh, thanks, James. You're decent of you. Don't need to do that, but thank you. There's rule sets you get that you just go, I'm not going to get on with this. It just isn't my thing. And after a game or two, you think just that's not it. It's not right. And then in other games you go, there's something in this that I really like. I like 90% of the rules, or I like 80% of the game, but I just want to make a few tweaks because I don't like the way this bit works or that bit works to improve it for my own satisfaction. But I do think, I mean, SPQR was definitely one of those that I just went, horrible. We did, to be fair, we played about 3 or 4 games of it before we binned it. But there was nothing there salvageable, I guess, as a game. Whereas other things I persisted at, and I thought, yeah, there's something core in here that I like, that I want to keep at. I mean,
That's
I
why
guess you guys had the same. Your rules you just pick up and you go, nah, this isn't right. I don't like this.
I mean, I sometimes feel bad ripping on this, and I'm not going to mention the rule books now, but I picked it up 2 years ago. That one, a bit of a hype one. Yeah, and so excited to get because I like the premise of it. Mm-hmm. I never played it. I tried to read I went to the rule book maybe twice, and I gave up because it just wasn't going in. And that's not like me. Normally, my brain is quite spongy when it comes to absorbing rules. I can normally, get a general gist of the first read through.
Yep.
This it was like, I don't know. It just wasn't happening. And I thought it was just me. But then I noticed other people, and I was chatting with a couple of people in the community about it. And it is a shame. I do feel bad saying I didn't like it because I didn't play it. So it's sort of, I haven't really got any grounds for not liking it. It just didn't.
Just didn't.
On those couple of read-throughs. So Andrew's just said it. You got that book too. Nice art, but the rules seemed a bit too much. Yeah. I just there was too much in there. It was, for me, wasn't. I know Robin hates the streamlined, but these weren't even streamlined. This was spaghetti junction of rules. I couldn't get. I honestly could not get an angle on it. I just couldn't, and I feel bad that I've never even played it, never even gave it a chance. But I just as a rarity for me that.
I'm just going to. I've just seen David's comment. I just want to just put it up because he said there are perfectly good lists of historical wargaming. They're called Orders of Battle, but only after about like 1600.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Good luck
what do you do
for Hastings?
Like, what do you do after that? That's just why there's got to be some system in play. Mind you, like obviously, research. You can just use common sense, I guess, but some people are going to need that ability to create whatever the hell they want. But I'm just curious. Actually, that is curious because that's maybe a completely different subject. Because we've talked about Orders of Battle before, aren't we? Because some people will build specifically to an order of battle. Let's take Benjamin's Hastings project. Probably worth talking to him. Yeah. How did he actually decide? Other than the fact of going William, Harold, and his brothers, what did you decide on?
Yeah, it's true. Very true. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
Worth actually. Yeah.
Andy says it's much like beer, really. Some beers you try and the pint and think, nah, I'll have something else next round. It's true. It's all personal. I mean, some people love it. I mean, Andy here saying he doesn't like Lion Rampant. Wargamer of Kent had it with GDA. After 3 times, it wasn't the game for me. House Rule 2 couldn't fix that. And that's fine. You know what? We're all different. We're all good.
Some of us are just wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of us are just wrong, but
Ken, I'm thinking about Ken here. No one present in the chat. Just Ken.
Awesome. Right, let's have a little bit of let's have a pause. Should we do a bit of news and then we'll get back to some of the comments because it's crackers. So thank you for all the interaction. Reminder, if you're enjoying it, hit the like button. And if you can see a way clear to subscribing to the 3 of our channels, that would be absolutely awesome. We would love it. And I think I said already, but thanks to everyone watching on Catch Up because we love you too. Right, what have you seen, Martin? Anything exciting in the news?
I've seen one thing.
Yeah,
I've seen one thing. Yeah, and I think quite a lot of people have seen this already. Hang on, let me just get to it. So, I don't know if he's still in the chat, but Mr. Paul Hicks has been sculpting again. Now, this is based on stuff by John Blanche.
Oh yes,
which is going to be a stylized tabletop skirmish game rooted in his kind of aesthetic. So I can already hear Steve getting a bit.
That was Steve getting moist.
And it's going to be called On Guard. Now they've really from my understanding, I think these are 54 mil.
Yeah, 54 mil.
So here's the concept art. So first of all, here's the concept art for this chap here, and then here is that typical John Blanche style, and then here is Paul's sort of free up as we get going.
Oh, that is
which is
awesome.
very cool. You think that one's cool?
The picture before, but I saw his art and I thought that's really clever. But actually, to see the picture and see that afterwards, it's like bloody hell.
So here's the other one. Here's this chap, and then here is this one.
That is insane. The level of detail Paul's got on that is absolutely.
The man is a genius.
Phenomenal.
That's absolutely awesome. So there we go.
Wow,
that's what I saw. There was not us. When we says, let me go hide my credit card first.
Yeah,
you do.
You should have had a health warning.
Does come with a warning. Paul does come with a warning.
Oh, sorry.
They are very, very nice. But if I put one of them next to my halflings, could I say that there's some kind of like god, like the halfling god, have them like marching across the? I've got to do those. I need to get those out. They're gonna be my reward for finishing these War of the Roses things off for this game. They're gonna be my reward.
I love it.
Anyway, that's all I saw.
That's what you saw. Brilliant. So I am going to. So just before we go here. We're not going to get into all the arguments that have been going backwards and forwards because there's been some really weird talk about this new launch that's Warlords just announced. So you're warned, don't go into this, right? So Conflict 47 is revamp, re-release, pre-order sets are up for sale from Warlords.
Yes.
The only thing I'm going to say about it, apart from that the models look amazing, is flipping heck, they're expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, no.
That's the mega bundle. 355 quid. That's not a lot of toys for 350 odd quid, is it? And then they do the these are the sort of army one. That's the US good to go bundle. £207. Wow. Seems a lot. Anyway. I'm sure it's great, and I know a lot of people are very excited about the revamp of Conflict. I'm not sure whether I want to go into it or not. I don't know because I
enjoyed it when we played it.
We really did.
I think I'd be up for playing it again, but I don't know if I would collect it. I think I'd be or maybe I'd just buy like a mech. But I know now because before I think everyone. Let me just get this straight. I'm sorry if I'm wrong here. Everyone just thought it was like it's bolt action with mechs. Now they are trying to actually. There's a lot more.
Build
it up. There's going to be more kits. Some of the plastics look really nice. So to actually go into plastic production, they're going to be putting some stuff behind that. They're going to be putting some money behind it. So.
I think that's the thing. They're clearly trying to move it on from just being an extension of bolt action and turn it into its own.
Yeah.
So I mean, none of us have seen the rules. There's been a lot of speculation about what it all means. Without any, and true to wargaming form, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon about it's this, that, and the other without actually seeing a thing. So we don't know anything about it yet, but it does look intriguing. I'm sort of.
If you want to know what Dom's on about, just go over and join the.
Just go and look at the page. I can't. Yeah.
It's not.
I mean,
not a happy
luckily it doesn't happen too often in our little community. But some of the stuff that people come out with there, jeez, wow. Anyway, moving on to something more wholesome. What could be more wholesome than the Bruces in Ireland? So Andalusian. No, what are they called? And I can't even say.
Antediluvian.
That's the fellas.
Antediluvian.
Antediluvian.
Yes.
Got a new range of spearmen or pikemen, I think they are, and crossbowmen for the Bruce's period, and they are absolutely amazing. There's just a few of them here, really, really beautiful models. There's a crossbowman. There's a whole raft of them going. Look, I love the face of this guy. Look at him.
Yeah. He just saw those. He just saw those prices.
I think he probably did. How much, as someone would say? Yeah, amazing. And also, Claymore had a new range of. Now, I think these were the Peasant War figures, German Peasant War figures.
So yes,
new range of those coming out.
Just more
Claymores again. I think those two manufacturers are some of the nicest models for that period. Around at the moment. Really, really nice indeed. So yeah, so both Claymore and the other one, which I can't say, available very soon, if not already. So that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you see anything, Steve?
No.
GP. Yeah, no, I don't do GW. No. I mean, no, I know it's not expensive compared to GW, but it just seems, I don't know, seemed a lot, really. Anyway, right, let's move on. So I wanted to have a look at some of the comments. Let's go back to just have a look at some of the other comments people had about rules, because there was some interesting, very, very interesting. John Sowerby said, there's 2 levels of tinkering I find I do. For games I take to conventions, I'll often take things out of the rules that add too much faffing about or too much complications, as typically you're playing with people who have no experience of the rules at all. And then there's rules that I just don't think work as they should. Best example of that being the torpedo rules in Cruel Seas, which I changed almost immediately to make them easier to track. Is that do you think that's house ruling? Removing rules to make them easy to run in a event?
It's a house rule for that situation. I just thought of one that I do quite a lot. I removed the rules for broken brigades. Unless you've got 3 brigades, we removed that rule because it could be over in 2 turns, which I know is, realistically, but if you want to have a game, we removed that rule for broken brigades. And I have to make a point of saying it because otherwise I get loads of shit in the comments. So.
We sometimes do if it's a sort of fairly small game, because we don't want it to finish after an hour or something, or the scenario. So Alec and I played Brandywine the other day, and in that, actually, the scenario itself has a completely different break point. So instead of brigades breaking, it's half your army or something. I can't remember. I think I had to lose so many units before I was defeated, and he had to lose half of his troops broken before it was won. And so that's fine. But okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but you can change. You can house rule things to change the scenario. Because if you're in a last stand scenario, you might go, right, you've got a bit of grit, so broken brigades apply to you, but not to me. I've got less brigades on the table. But this is obviously that's a scenario thing rather than necessarily a house rule.
Yeah, agreed. Interesting. What else we got? So I'm switching between things. Hobby Brush says, complete variety. I've written rule sets from scratch and heavily tinkered with others, but mostly games are first and foremost the excuse to get my toys out, and I'll go along with whatever my opponent chooses. I play so infrequently, so varied on subject and style that I'm pretty bad for not learning rules 100%, and I have a very forgiving gaming group. So writing your own rules, because this one, I remember somebody I used to game with occasionally, and he said he got frustrated with everyone kept changing rules all the time, because he said, well, if you don't like it, write your own rules, which I kind of got but also didn't get. I mean, Martin, you got close to writing. Well, you did start some rules, didn't you? Writing your own rules.
Yeah. They're on hiatus at the minute. They're sitting in a first draft, and I just haven't play tested it enough. I've completely changed the activation system since because of the games I played. So it's just sitting there. I need to dig that out at some point, but I just don't have the time. So I'll have to send it to you and get you to play it. Again, I played the War of the Roses, Hail Caesar thing using what they'd posted, which was the Perry's list, and it was fun, but it was so basic, and it didn't, to me, capture any of the period flavor. So I went in and added all these things for the different period flavor, which I felt was really exemplified by the commanders. So I just felt that you could make the commanders more characterful and actually have them affect, boost the troops around them a little bit more, especially at that period. And then adding things like, I just, rather than get rid of rules, it was just creating rules and systems for things like the blown horses, the sort of heavy because I'm sorry, I guess that is a personal irritation where heavy cavalry just keep charging, they keep going in games, and these horses and lances, they're all gone, they're knackered, they're not doing anything, they need to have a bit of a rest.
We know you brought that rule in only to scupper Haley's chances in battles. We know that.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Paul's just said the On Guard sculpt is by Patrick Mazin, not by me. It's insane. I cannot take credit for it. I wish I could. Sorry, I was on the phone to Mr. Hobday and only just saw the news item. Thank you for the correction. I did not know that bit. So there we go.
Well, there you go. Have you ever written any rule?
Andy can't call during the stream. You should. That's like when I try to call my mum and EastEnders is on and she doesn't answer the phone. So I don't call, but I don't call between 8 and half 8 or whatever it is when it's on.
I love it. Yeah, Steve, have you ever sort of written your own rule sets, or
we had a group effort at our old club. It was quite a basic game, but the premise was it was a futuristic, violent TV entertainment show. So
is it called The Jogging Man?
You played as one character, and the aim was to basically eliminate the other players. Right. My mate did most of the groundwork on it, and it was quite clever. The bits I liked was that the referee, it had a referee, was an old a rogue trader dreadnought, one of the really old chunky metal ones. So he was the referee, but we used the old Imperial Guardsmen from the early 90s, one with the las cannons. We had them set up as cameramen.
Right.
And it was just a good game. It didn't really go anywhere, but we had a really good time playing it. One of the things I always remember is one of the players used one of the cameramen as cover, so he hid behind him, and the referee decided that's against the rules. But another player had been hiding behind the referee using this dreadnought as cover, and when the dreadnought turned around, it stomped on the guy that was hiding behind him, and we had quite I think we must have used the injury rules from another game, but essentially the guy that it trod on, it broke both his legs, so he could only crawl after that after that point.
This sounds like a computer game. What's that game? That got banned.
It was a bit like Manhunt.
Yes, Manhunt. Yeah. Yes.
That's a cracking game. That it really is. But yeah, that we enjoyed that, and it was quite good. But it just, I think we didn't lose interest. Nobody really wanted to play it anymore, so we did lose interest for the most part. But it was a really good idea, and with the games we played, it was quite good. It was quite funny. I had some really like I said, the referee stomping on someone accidentally, using cameramen as cover. It was really good. It was quite an interesting game. But yeah, that was more of a group effort for I think 4 of us were involved in that. That must have been mid 90s, 96, 97 probably. But yeah, that was our only time.
Interesting. It's funny because got me thinking about rules, and I say I've had people who said, you should write your own rules if you don't like how you've amended them. And I've only ever written one rule set, and I don't even know whether I still got it, which was for Russian Civil War rules. 20mm games, and I can't even remember exactly. I think because we found it nowadays, there's rules for everything, right? You just have to go hunting for any rule sets. But when we were keen to play it, there wasn't really that many rule sets that were any good, or you could get hold of. So I ended up writing some, and they actually worked pretty well from what I remember. But I don't feel comfortable, I guess, to write if it's something really mainstream like a Napoleonic rule set or a ancient rule set. I'd find it quite tricky to cover off every angle and keep myself. And I guess although I've played so many different rule sets, my gaming kind of evolution has changed so much over the years. I kind of not sure exactly where I would land. So I'm quite happy to
PCP
take
publishing, eh?
That's
next on the list. We'll have a playtest day. Everyone goes down to Balls of Swords. Everybody, we just have a mass playtest of their various rule sets.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. All right, let's have a look at some of the other comments people had. I'm just reading through some of the comments. Sorry, I should have listened. Red Steph said, I adjusted hail, pike, and powder.
Yes, I saw that one.
That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I got. We found ourselves doing is that there's so many similarities and just little nuances that you just completely miss. I do all the time. Alex said, we changed rapid fire so much we realised we were playing IABSM, so we just started playing that instead. Well, that's the kind of thought I had, was that at what point do you fiddle around with the rules so much you go, you know what, actually we're now playing that.
Or you just say, I'd just rather be playing X, we've talked about that before, haven't we? Like, you say, I played this game, and then you're just like, just to be honest, I might as well have just gone back and played this.
I think, we have talked about this, and again, without going into names of rules, but there are some rule systems that I start to play down the club, or somebody gets you to play, or you see being played online, or what have you, and you just go, yeah, I kind of get that, but no, it just doesn't do it for me. I think I'd rather stick to the rules I like, the ones I've got, the ones I play all the time. And do you find you also get, again, I think we're all old enough now not to get into this, but do you find you're sometimes being peer pressured into playing a rule set that you just don't want to play, but because everyone thinks it's the thing, you play it?
I have been. But that was a long time. Now I just don't.
No.
now I just don't.
I suppose the closest we come probably with doing the channels is if, like you say, if someone sends you it, you find you feel obliged to try it.
Yeah, you give it a go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I'm always up for trying a game, but if I don't like a game, I'm not gonna. No. Time is precious. Time is precious. And there's no time for crap beer, crap films, and shit games. So, but that's being said, is like you can have a rubbish game and a great time.
Yes, that's very true.
Before. Yeah, so that can still be quite fun. But again, it's got to be with the right group of people who are willing to, who also understand it's rubbish.
Yeah. Plebiscite says, I often change army lists if you consider them to be part of the rules, mostly because I generally want to represent a specific unit or army on the specific day. But that's my nerdity in full flow. I think, again, if you're not playing a competition or people you play with regularly aren't sticklers for sticking to it, I don't care if you feature a unit, feature the old guard in a Peninsula game, for instance, even though they never are there.
That was another comment. Sorry, that was another one where someone said about pre-measuring and this is never going to take on at tournaments. And I'm sitting there going, I'm not your guy to talk to about this. I don't care. Could give a toss. You're on the wrong channel, mate. I am not your guy. I have no dog in this fight at all. I couldn't care less.
Oh. Lewis says it's for my group. It's not so much that we house rule; we just forget and confuse bits from different editions of a game, so we end up playing our edition, which is a mash of the rules, which we find works. Yeah, with you, mate. We do that for sure. And again, if you're having fun, who cares, right? Who cares?
Oh yeah.
Lionheart says in Pikeman's Lament, I changed the dragon rule where you mount and dismount miniatures in one unit, but I changed all to mounted and use the skirmish rule when you move half and dismount them. I don't know the rules well enough for that, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing. If again, it's all about how you feel comfortable with. If your game group are happy, so I guess the question around this comes in as well is. So if it's fine if you have a regular gaming group, so you go down the shop and you play with the same people, or you have people around your house, or you go to a club, or what have you. But what happens when you move to a different area, or you're playing other people? You know, when like you say, Martin, do you find you have to spend the first 10 minutes going, well, this is the house rule we play, or are you happy with this? Or
my facetious answer would be you take your friends with you and make them go if they don't, and by whatever means necessary, they will come with you. Their relationships mean nothing. They must just follow you. You found your gaming group for life, and that now must stay together.
They can never.
I guess if I was going to introduce myself down a gaming club, and I wouldn't go in and go, oh, we play it this way. I'd play by their house rules, and then I would suggest I'll be like, right, because they'll have things that you may not have considered, and then I would simply say, well, look, next time we play, look, this is back in, I don't know, the East. If I moved away, this is what we've done. Do you fancy trying it this way? And then you might end up with some amalgamation. But then you could also end up using all of their house rules and all of your house rules, and then you end up with this smorgasbord of amendments. I think if it gets to the point you start having to write them down, that might be. I think a house rule to me should be something that you can easily remember. It should be enough, or a few enough that you can just go. We test for forming square. You can't shoot if you move 3 times, and commanders get 2 rerolls. Right? There should be something to remember. I think if you have like a charter with your changes written out, I think then you're starting to get to the point where it is moving beyond house rule handouts for the win. See, in our RPGs, but I think this is just because my group were a bit dense, and I basically had a little whiteboard that I had on a stand, and I wrote them on that, so I could rock things out and change them really easy in game. like a rubbish presentation.
Love it. So it's a question. You guys are more experienced in this than me, but in terms of fantasy games or sci-fi games and things like that, is there more or less house ruling in them? Do you think? Do people change 40k, for instance? I know GW change them every bloody week, but the players, or is it more of a historical thing?
I'd imagine so. I know that when we used to, back in the day when we played original Rogue Trader 40k, we made loads of changes to that. We used the actual rules as sort of a spine, but I mean, like Alex has said many times, essentially it's a role playing game, Rogue Trader. Yeah. So we introduced some mad rules to it. But I don't know whether today. I've got no idea what 40k rules are like today. So whether there would be any scope for introducing them. Mind you, if you did that and walked into a Games Workshop store, they'd probably skin you alive.
I was going to say they get very upset if you don't even use the right figures. So
I don't know. I say back in when I used to go to the club, we did with 40k. We didn't so much with second edition because. The only thing we did was that. Did we make any changes? I can't really remember. The only game we've never made any changes to it. We never changed any rules to Blood Bowl. That game has worked seamlessly. We never
really
had to house rule anything for Blood Bowl.
That's interesting. So, are there any rule sets that you play?
They changed 40k. It's called 1p. That's a very, very valid answer. To be fair,
Fair enough.
And Grimdark Future, the sort of not 40k game from 1p rules, is a good game, and it does allow people to use their old 40k figures to do some sci-fi game. That's what I do when I've got my not Space Marines, called Battle Brothers, and the not Imperial Guard of the Human Defense Force. And I've got two full armies for Grimdark Future. It's a really great game.
GP says they house rule the living death out 5th edition, when Shadow Dark arrived, and all so much easier. Okay.
Can I just throw this one up? I have no idea what 40k rules are like now. Shitesty. 10th edition is.
No, tell us what you really think.
I mean,
don't hold back.
I love honest reviews. Shite.
Hobby Brush says the Guildford Games Club. Oh, you part the Guilds. That's only down the road from me. There's 2 versions of Frostgrave. Both are brilliant. One is raw. The other changes combat entirely. Both have some balance, but the latter keeps people alive for a campaign. Interesting. Yeah, because some of those games, I watch them, and not that I know Frostgrave at all, but those sort of games where, well, some of the games you play, Martin, some of those skirmish games, and you think, how can it be a campaign? Because everything's dead by the end of the game.
Yes.
There's nobody left. Yes. Some skirmish games are so brutal. Are there any rule sets that you don't change? Can you think of anything that you just literally have never had?
Blood Bowl.
Saga.
Yeah, Blood Bowl.
Blood Bowl and Saga.
Well, Saga's too intricate with the system.
I'm going to say, if you changed one thing in Saga, it could have a huge ramification, couldn't it?
Saga, musket, anything generally card-driven, actually. Saga, muskets and tomahawks, I wouldn't change anything. Soldiers of Napoleon, I wouldn't change anything. Just trying to fit other card. Ducks, I wouldn't change. But again, partly because I enjoyed them, but then also partly because, you say that the mechanics of the game are so reliant, are so interwoven, which, a game should be. But if you're like, I'm going to change this one thing on the battle boards, for example, in Saga, then you've just thrown, they aren't dead, they're just having a lie down.
It's like a reenactment thing, isn't it, Robin? Yeah, they're not really dead. They're just laying down, and then the bell goes, and they get up and have a coffee, and then they play round 2. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Saga, I was trying to think of this as well. I think Saga is a great example where I don't know anybody that changes anything on that at all, because be very difficult to do. I was thinking Sharp Practice, I don't adapt anything, but then we do the thing. It's, I think, as written, all the negatives come with just one shock, and we think that's too brutal, so we make it 2 shock, which I think pretty much everybody I know plays it that way. I think that's the only one we don't. Interesting. I don't know if there's any games people don't touch. Oh, here we go. There's a few in the comments. General de Brigade and British Grenadier. Okay, interesting. Actually, think about it. GDA 2, I don't think we've made any modifications to that at all. We play it as written, mainly because I'm afraid of Dave Brown. He'll come and beat me up if I change it.
We changed bolt action and played it as conflict and made it fun.
That's true, we did. That was great fun, actually. That was a hell of a day. Impetus as well. Interesting.
See, again, I've heard so many good things about
your camp. Soldiers of Napoleon, because it's perfect.
Ooh, I don't know if I could use the P word, but yeah.
And John makes a good point. Actually, O Group, I haven't played that for ages, but I don't think we've ever changed anything on that either. Oh, shout out for Dave Brown games. Blimey. I haven't changed any of his games. Interesting. Just have a Just
oh God!
Out and then deal with Dave. Oh God, no.
Let's not forget that, James, because the siege of Gergovia had to wait while someone was recovering from their stout in the morning. The Romans couldn't begin their assault at the allotted time while we were waiting for the commander of the 13th Legion to arrive. Eh?
Tell you what, Dom, you were at the CrackCon. Didn't you say you deliberately gave Dave Brown a sprue of weird shit?
I did give him a sprue of weird shit.
Yeah, and he came up to me and said,
around going, "What's this?" and tried to give it to people.
He came up to me and said, I don't know what this is, but I hear you're into this, so you can have this.
I mean, at least it was a sprue he gave you. That could have been a lot worse. That could have been too shock of the rules. That's why everyone is playing it.
All right, okay. So I got it right. There is a rule where it's only one.
I like that.
Yeah, all right. Fair enough. See, that's there we go. Shut up. Go away.
That's maybe. Sorry, that was taste.
Oh, Jesus. Love it. Love it. I mean, I know. Right. Let's... oh, crikey. We're getting towards the tail end of this. Let's do some other comments, shall we? What else have we got here from people? Shrink7 says, scenario-based rules are good. Yeah, I think that's where everything comes into it, doesn't it? If you can change the game to reflect the rules... I mean, that's basically what supplement books do. It's like all those myriad of bolt action books do, and it's the same with the Black Powder and the Hell Caesar and the Pike and Shot and myriad other rule books, isn't it? It's putting in place different. But I think that's... Yeah. So here's the thing, thinking on the back of scenarios. So most rule books are they cover such a huge amount of time in history, or fantasy, I guess, over a period of thing, that it's hard for them to cover every eventuality. So almost they need that house ruling, if you want, or adapting with different supplements for different periods to make them work, don't they? They're almost like a template that you can then adapt to what you want.
Well, it's a sandbox. That's why this recent 18-month run of Black Powder, well, actually, haven't really been any Black Powder, but Pike and Shot and Hail Caesar supplements. When they put out that call 3 years ago, Warlord, to get those writers, this constant run of supplements, it's been so good. And why it does, even if you're not interested in them, it's worth buying them because there's rules in all of them, which they've picked out that they feel are situational to that period. For example, the dueling in the Samurai. One, which I'd quite like to do that in the War of the Roses one, or I'd quite like to, whatever, the Italian wars and the pipe blocks and, the rules of those, I'm sure there's, you could bring those maybe a bit earlier into the Burgundian, maybe. Anyway, there's lots of things like that, but you've got to have that kind of sandbox system. I think what's harder is when you have a system which is, and I can think of 2 games at the minute which are set up to work with a certain period and they try to expand it into others but keeping the core rules. I'm thinking of Muskets and Tomahawks and Saga. So those one of you, which I think work really, really well for the original time period that they are set to represent, and then the expansions, and
they try and move it into a different
period. The core rules are suited to that period, whereas the core rules in the sandboxy type games are very general, and that's the point. They can be applied across the board, and then it's easier to. I think it's easier to write period. I would imagine a period specific expansion than a period specific core rule set. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do. Also, I mean, thinking purely commercially, you can do better out of it that way, aren't you? If you do I don't know, I'm doing the Leipzig campaign for Napoleonic rules. It's only for that. You're only going to interest those who want to play that. You're going to upset people who want to play Peninsula because they go, oh, it's no good to me at all. Whereas if you do the main rules and then buy a supplement, send out a supplement that's for one, and then a Leipzig one, and then for a Peninsula one, and then for a 1812 one, A, you make more money, but B, you can you're going to keep more people interested in your rule set. So makes sense. But it's interesting because you go back to some of the early. Here we go. I'm going to be the old man again. WRG, the War Games Research stuff. Their ancient rules, for instance, went from biblical times through to medieval times. And, we used to go to competitions, dreaded word. And you sometimes, if it was an open competition, you'd see biblical Egyptians going up against longbow-armed 100-year war troops. It was just the most ridiculous thing. But the rules didn't change at all. There was no difference in the rules, even if you played it, period specific. That was just the way it was. So, interesting. GP says, Muskets and Tomahawks, I'll believe you, Seventh Son, when the next sodding expansion appears. Still waiting. Well, I have to say, GP, after the Napoleonic one was a bit of a... I didn't like it very much, let's put it that way. Whereas I did love the first one. I thought it was fantastic. They're really, really...
Yeah, that's because the first one is what it was written for.
What it was written for. Absolutely,
because they released Muskets. They did what they did with Saga, didn't they? Was they released it as a system book. Yep. Muskets and Tomahawks is the name of the game. Then the French Indian War, AWI, and what was the next? Was it 1812? Yeah, 18. Yeah, it was 1812.
No, the AWI and
1812. French Indian War and Indian
War, didn't they?
Yeah, but it was 1812. There were three. There was French Indian War. It was 1812. I'm sure it was. They that was their first. That was their first expansion, which was then called Redcoats and Tomahawks, and then they released Shakos and Bayonets, which was the second expansion. And then I imagine because they wanted to do Zulu, so I imagine that's going to be called Martinis and Assegai. Then they wanted to do the one that I thought it may work with is the American Civil War, when they're doing they want to do the guerrilla kind of fighting. But I just didn't feel it really worked where you had big masses of infantry. That it just Napoleonic warfare and the French Indian War warfare are very different.
I agree.
That
mixture of lots of I agree. It never worked for me at all. That's it, Andy. That's what it was. 3000 BC to 1485 AD. That's a time period, isn't it? Fancy,
1485. It's 1485.
I don't know.
It's because of Bosworth. It's because of Bosworth, but then everyone forgets that there was another battle 2 years later, but no one cares about it. But it had Landsknechts at it. So,
Right then, let's have a look at some of the pictures what people put up on the Facebook page. So a reminder, if you're not already a member, please join the Facebook page. It's a lovely old community, and we love seeing what everyone's working on. And just sheer variety. I think about 50% of it, I have no idea what it is, but it does look pretty, so it's nice to see. But I also love seeing the games, so put them up, please. This one for you, Steve. Christoph's. These are French something or other. They're Frenchy fellas.
Really nice colours.
They're lovely.
Unbelievable, aren't they? Really, really good. Even though I have no interest in this at all, I'm now having interest just looking at those figures. I just think, what the heck? That's brilliant. Yeah, well done, Christoph. Really, really nice. Edward, look at those ogres.
Hey. He looks like an ogre.
They are.
I lost so many times to ogres.
Wowza. Yeah. Also, Thomas has been working on his Baron War stuff. Yeah,
nice.
I recognise that.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I need to embark on some of those soon. I like the basing as well. Very nice. Nice little pebbles. Lovely. Tactical pebbles. How about that? Very nice. Andrew has been working on his French cuirassiers. Now, he said these are a mixture of Perry and piano, which does show how well piano do mix in. They're really nice. Very nice indeed. Another one for you, Steve. John Clark working on his US.
Oh, yeah, I saw this. Yeah.
Did you see these? These were amazing.
Yeah, they're lovely.
Beautiful job. Really, really good.
A lot of people working on these new airborne at the moment. Yeah, really nice. Love that uniform colour as well. It's cracking.
Very, very good, isn't it? Is that that's the new Warlord kit? Is it?
Yes, it is. It's the from the Currahee starter box. You can get the full army or just the normal 30 miniature box. But yeah, really, really nice.
Wow. There we go. Dawn's Arrow. That was his trench wars stuff. He decided to paint them as early 1914 French. The game is loosely set in that period, he thinks. That's great. I mean, they're amazing, mate. Very impressive indeed. What else we got? Pat. There you go. I know you like a camel. So there you go.
Nice.
I do like a camel. That's very cool.
Very good. I do like them. I told you my Reconquer ones that you kindly printed off for me.
Yeah.
I think I dropped them and they all broke.
Oh.
So
Well,
I'd love to cry. I can print them again now. I can. Yeah. Very good. Sean, that's a lot of Russians there. That is the Russian Grenadier Division, 18 mil figures. Wow.
cracking.
Ugh, they are fantastic.
I love that. That was both. That was a sort of amazement, but also sort of dread for like.
It was a combination of awe and chest pains at the same time.
Wow.
Look at the drums. Look at the white trousers.
I was going to say, how many drummers in front?
I don't know. There's too many. Far too many.
The front rank alone. Bloody hell, Steve. That would have you twitching.
Oh, no.
Rob said last year he did Austrians and now he's doing Spanish. He can clearly only do white. So that's what he's doing. White
You'll be a
uniform.
man in demand if you can only
certainly
do.
will. Very good, very good. I mean, I salute anybody who does that amount of whites. Very, very good. Also got, now this is one for you chaps, because again, it's in the area I don't understand. This is Matthew's son of something or other tank. I just thought, I love the weathering on it. That is so well done.
I do like that colour. That's Sons of Horus, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Steve?
That's it.
Yes.
That was it. That's what he said.
Nice.
Very, very good. Very good. We talked briefly in the news about German Peasant War. So this is Paul's command stand.
Yeah, that's lovely. I
They're
love
nice.
that. I love those. Yeah, really nice.
Very good indeed. And then a couple of games, because as I say, I do like to see the games people are playing. So this was two different Pauls, but Paul showing this was his Normandy 44 game that he was playing.
Lovely.
He didn't say, I don't think he said what rule system he was using, but very nice. I'm in hankering after having a Second World War game. I don't know why. 28 mil I was thinking about recycling some of the really old war game rules and just having another go at them and just see whether I could talk about house ruling, but taking something from like those Airfix books that you used to get and the house ruling those and seeing whether I could actually get a rule set that would be fun to play solo or what have you. Just having a quick game. Because that, I don't know, just inspired me. I was watching somebody doing a video of, I think it was the one-page rules, and he was playing a Second World War scenario where the French had to get off the table, and he was basically just taking some really simple rules, and it was quite a fun game. And I thought, well, you could just, rather than getting over complicated, why don't you do something like that? Anyway, other Paul, this was his ACW game. I mean, it just looks immense. I love it. This was Black Powder he was playing it for. Really,
Lovely.
really good.
That's lovely.
Fantastic stuff. Yeah, that's the fella. Oh, that's the one I was thinking of. Operation Warboard. You're right, Andy. I think I've got that here somewhere. That was a nice old book which had some beautiful pictures in it. Really good. So there you go. So yeah, reminder, if you want to get involved in the Facebook page, please stick your work up there. It's really nice to see what everyone's working on. Variety is fantastic, and we love seeing the games as well. So there you go. So talking about games, what are you up to this week, Martin? Any games coming your way?
There should be some Baron's War going on, and then everything is prepped for this Wars of the Roses game. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I've got about 24 models across 4 bases at the minute for these. That game won't be this week. Yeah. That game won't be this week, but it's perfect. So got that. I might be going around my friends, maybe playing some 0-200 hours. I've been playing quite a lot of. No, I've been playing. Yeah, that won't be filmed or anything. That's my mate Kev, who you've met. We've been playing. We've done loads of Ruckus. We played like 4 weeks straight. We played Ruckus. Then we did some Dead Man's Hand, just good old classic. Just those ones to sort of break out and just do some of that. So I've got those to do. I've got a couple of videos which are sort of mid-edit, and then planning, because I sort of alluded to it at the start. While I was researching for this battle, I started researching for something else that's going to require a lot more, but it's going to be very cool, and I really, really want to do it. Robin knows what it is because I was messaging him excitedly about history. I'd like to add, it was very cool, especially like when I found out like this one particular individual wore a black jack. So I was like, I can do a really cool command base, and we can have him wearing a black jacket, and it's going to look really, really cool. I could do this, and then, but what I'm excited about is it's got some characters in the Wars of Roses that you don't see very, and it's a historical game. Game, but just something that I think it will look very cool on the table. Pillage, yes, there will be more pillage. I've got so Robin and I and another game. Robin will be bringing Vikings, I believe, and I've got another opponent who's going to bring some Normans, and Hayley's even expressed interest now that she knows it's about pillaging. So, but no, there should be some more. But I'm just having a little, because I did those 3 videos straight, one after the other, which I don't normally do for anything. So I've done those. So I'm just having a little break for a week or so, and then there'll be some more. I know some of the stuff that obviously is coming down the road. So there's things that I want to do. But yeah, that's my plans. What about you guys?
Nice. What about you, Steve? Got anything planned? Any games?
No games, but lots of painting. I've just finished bashing these 3 for this 1490 Doom game. I've done a scout, a fighter, and a brute, and I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kits to make 3 figures. Yeah, I'm quite chuffed with them. That's my plan. I want to paint those up. A bit more work on this Nurgle project. I've got some Necromunda Escher that are waiting to be done. Bits and pieces. A bit more work on those Victrix Germans because they're so good. No idea what I'm going to do with those at the moment. I don't know what system I'm going to use them for. Really don't know. I'm just hoping that in the future Victrix release US and British versions, because that would be.
I think they are going to.
Sweet.
Guaranteed they will.
But apart from that, no more weird stuff. I've also got some. I'm going to be working on a cyborg automaton warband for Space Weirdos as well.
Of course you will.
Because I really want to work on that the automaton kit for Stargrave.
Bloody
just
hell.
Weird stuff all over the place. But at the moment, this 1490 Doom, since I watched those battle reports yesterday, that's my current weirdness at the moment.
That's your bag, is it?
It is. It just sounds so good. And dark as well.
I think for me, I've got a bit of GDA 2 coming up this Friday, which I haven't played for a while, so I must reread the rules. Try and remember.
The way you said that made it sound like some kind of horrific procedure that you got to go through. I got some GDA 2 coming.
I'm quite looking forward to it, actually. No, we've had a couple of weeks of playing Pike and Shot, which have been great fun. Had a couple of really good games of that, and really enjoyed it. And I think this week we're probably playing 15mm Napoleonics again, so looking forward to it. So should be good. And also I've been working my way through a whole load of old figures, which has been very satisfying to rebase and Yeah. Tart up, so
Excellent.
that's all good. So what's next week? What have we got? You've got
So next week we are over with Steve, which we'll mention in a second. The week after that we are with me with Rules with No Purpose. And then on the 28th, we're back with Dom with our special guest, Duncan Rhodes, which I know has caused a little bit of a buzz. So do feel free to start sending us any questions or anything that you would like to know. Because whether people, I don't know if people know this a lot, he is into his historicals. And he does a Napoleonic reenactment as well. So, but next week we're with Steve on his... Well, I'll let you explain.
So there's two parts to it. So it's keep, sell, or give away. And it's how do you manage your stash? How do you manage that? Because under here is it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what I'm going to do, and it's growing on a weekly basis. So removing all those things to work on these kit bashes, but I never give things away. We're going to discuss that. How do you manage your stash? But there's also going to be an additional thing. I'll pop something in the group chat about this. But viewers of the podcast know the projects that us three have been working on over the years. And you'll have to choose for us a project of ours that you would want us to give away, sell, and keep.
Is it that they're going to give us free and we've got to pick which one we're keeping, selling, and get? Yeah. So it's like Snog. It is Snog, Marry, Avoid. Which I never took part in those games on the coach.
Next week, I could feel it. I'm just going to be painful otherwise.
So they're gonna so they could say, for example, Stee, Turnip, Battle of the Bulge, and Space Weirdos. You've got to pick one to keep, one to sell, and one to throw away. Interesting.
Oh my lord!
I mean, if Ken's on it, literally just be, I'll just sell them, sell.
Have you seen his stash recently? His stash is a draw.
He's a disgrace for a war game.
I mean, you don't have to add that for a war gamer.
I felt I had to justify it, but actually, you're probably right. All right, well, that's going to be fun. So, put your suggestions in the Facebook page when Steve puts the stream up, and that's going to be interesting.
I have a feeling that at the end of this is I'm going to be saying, "Please, people, take these off my hands," or I would be willing to sell.
I'm just glad it's all theoretical and I'm not going to give any of my stuff away.
Thank God it's theoretical. That's fine. That's good. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us as ever. I had a great night tonight. Thank you again. Thanks for these two for joining as well in the good old stream. So thank you for everybody. And we will see you next week on Young Steve's channel. Same time, same place. See you then. Have a good week.
See you later,
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.